I never thought I would be sitting here at 47 content with the life I had rebuilt from ashes. 21 years ago, my wife Sarah walked out on me and our three beautiful children, Jackson 5, Allie 3, and little Emma, barely 1. She chose her personal trainer over the family we had created together, leaving me to raise our kids alone. I thought that chapter of our lives was closed forever, until that Sunday afternoon when the doorbell rang. And there she stood on our porch, 2 decades older, but unmistakably, the woman who had shattered our world. Before I tell you what happened when I opened that door, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. If you have ever had someone from your past try to return, hit that like button, trust me. You will want to hear how this ends. I met Sarah during my sophomore year at the University of Michigan. She was studying art history while I was pursuing a degree in construction management. Our eyes locked across the university library, where I was struggling with a project blueprint, and she approached to ask about the drawings spread across my table. Her curiosity and bright smile captivated me instantly. Within weeks, we were inseparable, spending evenings, walking around campus, and dreaming about our future together. We married young, both 22 and full of hope. Everyone said we were rushing, but when you know, you know. After graduation, I landed a job as a junior project manager with a construction company in Portland. Sarah supported my career, putting her own artistic aspirations on hold as we settled into our first apartment. We saved every penny for a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. It had a backyard with an old oak tree, perfect for the family we planned to create. Jackson came along 2 years later, a strong-willed boy with my dark hair and Sarah's green eyes. Allie followed when Jackson was 2, a thoughtful little girl who observed everything with quiet intelligence. When Sarah got pregnant with Emma, we had just moved into our house. Life felt complete when our youngest arrived, a tiny bundle with rosy cheeks and a peaceful temperament. I worked long hours to provide for my growing family, often leaving before sunrise and returning after the kids were asleep. Sarah seemed to understand the sacrifice, assuring me it was temporary until we were more financially stable. I tried to make up for my absence on weekends, taking the kids to parks and helping Sarah around the house. Looking back, maybe I missed the early warning signs because I was so focused on being the provider. The first real indication that something was wrong came when Jackson was 4. Sarah started attending a new gym downtown, returning home with a glow that had nothing to do with exercise. Her wardrobe changed gradually. More form-fitting clothes replaced her practical mom outfits. She began highlighting her hair and spending more time on her appearance than she had since before Jackson was born. I noticed her phone constantly buzzing with text messages that she would smile at secretly. When I asked who was texting, she would dismiss it as just gym friends or the book club. Late nights at wine tastings or gallery openings became frequent. I wanted to believe her explanations, but doubt gnawed at me. Still, I trusted her. We had built this life together, created these beautiful children. Surely that meant something unbreakable. One evening I came home early, hoping to surprise Sarah with takeout from her favorite Italian restaurant. The house was quiet, except for the babysitter watching television in the living room. She seemed surprised to see me explaining that Sarah had called to say she would be out late at a special workout session. I paid the teenager and sent her home, then put the food in the refrigerator, my appetite gone. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in our darkened kitchen until 2 in the morning when I heard her key in the lock. Sarah froze when she saw me sitting there. Her hair was slightly disheveled and she smelled of unfamiliar cologne. When confronted, she did not even try to deny it. "His name is James," she said coldly. "He is my personal trainer, and I am in love with him." Her words struck like physical blows. James was 10 years younger than us, a fitness model who had moved to Portland from Southern California. Sarah admitted the affair had been going on for 6 months. What hurt most was her callousness. No apology, no regret. "I have wasted my youth, Gary. she said, her voice dripping with resentment. I never wanted to be tied down with kids. James makes me feel alive again. 2 days later, Sarah announced she was moving to Los Angeles with James, who had been offered a modeling contract. I begged her to consider what she was doing to our children. Her response still haunts me. You can have them. They will just hold me back. The morning she left, she packed 2 suitcases, while the kids watched in confusion. Jackson clung to her legs, asking when Mommy would come home. She patted his head absently and told him to be good for Daddy. The final devastating blow came a week later, when her lawyer delivered papers relinquishing her parental rights. She wanted a clean break, no visitation, no child support responsibilities, nothing that would tie her to the life she was so eager to escape. I stood in the doorway, documents in hand, watching the courier drive away, wondering how I would ever explain to our children that their mother had chosen to erase them from her life. The first few weeks after Sarah left passed in a blur of sleepless nights and chaotic days. I took emergency family leave from work, unable to focus on anything but keeping my children fed, clothed, and somewhat comforted. Jackson asked about his mother daily, his 5-year-old mind unable to grasp the permanence of her departure. When is Mommy coming back from her trip? He would ask each morning, hope shining in his eyes. Each time I had to tell him that Mommy was not on a trip, that she had moved away to live a different life. A piece of my heart crumbled. Allie at 3 regressed to baby talk and clung to me like a shadow, afraid I too would disappear. Emma, barely walking, was perhaps the luckiest, too young to remember the mother who had abandoned her. My parents, retired teachers living in Seattle, immediately offered to relocate to Portland to help. Within 2 weeks, they had sold their condo and moved into our spare bedroom, becoming the stabilizing presence my children desperately needed. The practical challenges were overwhelming. My job as a project manager demanded 60-hour weeks and occasional travel. I requested a position with less responsibility and more predictable hours, taking a significant pay cut. Every night after tucking the kids in, I would sit at the kitchen table with spreadsheets calculating how to stretch our reduced income to cover the mortgage, daycare, and mounting credit card debt from the sudden expenses of single parenthood. 6 months after Sarah left, the initial shock had worn off, leaving a hollow ache that seemed to permeate everything. I was going through the motions, functioning but not living. Sleep became my enemy, filled with dreams of Sarah returning only to leave again. Anxiety attacks would strike without warning while grocery shopping, during meetings, or driving the kids to school. I would find myself gasping for air, gripping whatever was nearby until the wave passed. The children showed signs of trauma in different ways. Jackson started having angry outbursts at kindergarten, pushing other children and refusing to participate in group activities. His teacher suggested counseling after he punched a classmate who mentioned having a mommy and daddy. Allie stopped speaking altogether for nearly 2 weeks, communicating only through nods and head shakes. Emma developed separation anxiety so severe that she would scream uncontrollably whenever I left her sight. My parents did their best, but they were in their 70s and exhausted by the constant needs of 3 young children. I considered selling our house. Every corner held memories of the family we once were. The financial relief would help, but could I really uproot the kids when they had already lost so much? The breaking point came on a rainy Saturday afternoon, when I found Jackson huddled in my closet, clutching an old photo of Sarah he had discovered in a drawer. His small body shook with silent sobs as he traced her face with his finger. "Why did Mommy not love us enough to stay?" he whispered when he saw me watching. That night, after the children were asleep, I broke down completely. Sitting on my bathroom floor, muffling my sobs with a towel, I realized I could not continue this way. My children deserved more than a father who was barely holding himself together. The next morning, I called a therapist whose number had been sitting on my nightstand for months. Dr. Harmon specialized in trauma and family therapy. Our first session was just me pouring out the betrayal, anger, and fear that had consumed my life. Through Dr. Harmon's recommendation, I joined a support group for single parents. That was where I met Monica, a pediatric nurse, raising two boys after her husband died of cancer. Unlike the dates my well-meaning friends had tried to set up, Monica understood the complexity of parenting wounded children. She never pushed for more than friendship offering, instead, the compassion of someone who had walked a similar path. Her sons, Tyler and Devin, were 8 and 6, close in age to my children. The first time we arranged a playdate at a local park, I watched in amazement as Jackson cautiously joined their game of tag, the first time he had willingly played with other children in months. Allie took to Monica immediately, perhaps sensing another nurturing presence after being surrounded by male energy. With Dr. Harmon's guidance, I began establishing new family traditions to replace painful reminders of Sarah. Friday movie nights with homemade pizza became a weekly highlight. Instead of dreading Mother's Day, we started Family Appreciation Day, where the kids made cards for grandparents, each other, and people who helped us. Slowly, tentatively, we began to heal. I transferred to a smaller construction firm as a contractor, working exclusively on local projects with regular hours. The pay was less, but being present for school pickups and bedtime stories was worth every penny sacrificed. 5 years passed, each day bringing small steps toward normalcy. Our family routine had solidified into comfortable patterns. School drop-offs, followed by work afternoons of homework and activities. Dinner together every night, without fail. My friendship with Monica had deepened, gradually evolving from shared playdates to family dinners to quiet conversations after the children were asleep. Her steady presence brought a warmth back into our home that I had forgotten could exist. Jackson, now 10, had channeled his early anger into sports, excelling at baseball and swimming. He still had moments of rage about his mother, especially when seeing his friends' families together at school events. Why was I not enough for her to stay? He asked one night, after a mother-son dance he attended with my mom. I had no perfect answer, only honest ones. Your mother's choices were about her brokenness, not your worthiness, I told him, holding his shaking shoulders. Allie had blossomed into a thoughtful 8-year-old, often mediating disputes between her siblings and friends with surprising wisdom. We have to use our words to fix problems, she would say, echoing phrases from our family therapy sessions. She had appointed herself Emma's protector, helping her younger sister navigate kindergarten with a fierce devotion that sometimes brought me to tears when they did not notice me watching. Emma, at 6, had started asking more questions about Sarah. Having no memories of her mother, she was curious rather than wounded. Did my mom have curly hair like me? Could she sing? Why did she not want to be my mommy? Each question felt like reopening a healing wound. But I answered truthfully while emphasizing how many people loved her grandparents, siblings, Monica, and her boys, and most of all me. Monica and I had acknowledged our feelings for each other when the children were away at summer camp the previous year. We moved cautiously, always prioritizing the emotional safety of our 5 combined children. We began dating, officially being transparent with the kids about our relationship. Monica is my special friend, I explained, but she is not trying to replace anyone. Monica added, I am here because I care about all of you, and sometimes grown-ups find happiness in unexpected places. By the time I proposed 2 years later, our families had already merged in all the ways that mattered. The kids now moved freely between our houses, which were fortunately only a few blocks apart. Monica's quiet strength had taught me it was possible to love again without fear. The children helped me plan the proposal, a scavenger hunt through locations meaningful to our blended family, ending at the park where we had first watched our children play together. Our wedding was small and joyful, held in the backyard of the larger home we purchased together. Jackson, 15 by then, stood beside me as best man. Allie and Emma scattered wildflower petals down the makeshift aisle. Tyler and Devin held the rings. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, It felt like officially recognizing what had already become true. We were a family forged from separate heartbreaks, but stronger for having found each other. The legal adoption was Monica's idea, approached delicately when the children were teenagers. "I would be honored to officially be your mom," she told my children one Sunday dinner, "but only if that feels right to you." Their responses reflected their different journeys. Jackson considered it overnight. Allie said yes immediately, and Emma asked thoughtful questions about what it meant legally. All three ultimately decided they wanted the security of having Monica as their legal mother. When the paperwork was finalized, they surprised us by asking to take her last name, Wilson, a gesture that moved Monica to tears. Our Christmas cards that year featured all 7 of us in matching sweaters. The Wilson family printed beneath the photo. Friends commented on how happy we all looked. Not the artificial happiness of posed photos, but genuine joy that reached our eyes. The path to that moment had been unimaginably difficult, but watching my children thrive made every struggle worthwhile. Jackson graduated high school with honors and a baseball scholarship to Oregon State. His graduation party was filled with friends and extended family. His confidence and kindness evident as he thanked everyone who had supported him. Allie discovered a passion for music and art, spending hours at the piano Monica had inherited from her grandmother or sketching in the sunroom we had added to the house. Emma, our family historian, created elaborate scrapbooks documenting vacations and milestones, preserving memories with an attention to detail that astonished us. Through all these years, the growth, the celebrations, the ordinary Tuesday evenings helping with math homework, there was never a word from Sarah. No birthday cards, no child support checks, no attempts to see how her children had grown. I had given her parents our address. When they reached out, wanting to maintain a relationship with their grandchildren, but Sarah never used it. The children had stopped asking about her years ago. The wound had scarred over, no longer painful to the touch, but still marking where something vital had once been torn away. The doorbell rang during our monthly Sunday dinner preparation. Jackson, now 26, and working as an engineer in Portland, was setting the table while telling us about his recent promotion. Allie, 24, and in her second year of art therapy graduate school, was arranging flowers she had brought from the farmer's market. Emma, 22 and home from college for the weekend, was helping Monica prepare her famous apple crisp dessert. I was marinating steaks for the grill, enjoying the comfortable chaos of our full house. The unexpected sound of the doorbell made us all pause. We were not expecting anyone else. Our family gathering was complete, with Tyler and Devin planning to arrive later. I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and walked through the living room to the front door. Through the frosted glass panels, I could make out the silhouette of a woman, slender and standing very still. I opened the door, unprepared for the face that greeted me. Time had changed her lines around her eyes, silver threading through her once dark hair, a certain hardness to her features that had not been there before. But there was no mistaking those green eyes that Jackson had inherited. Sarah, 21 years older, but unmistakably the woman who had walked away from our family without looking back. "Hello, Gary," she said softly. "It has been a long time." My body tensed as adrenaline flooded my system. Every protective instinct surged forward. Behind me, I heard the kitchen conversation pause as my family sensed something was wrong. I gripped the doorframe, steadying myself against the shock of seeing her standing on our porch as casually as if she had just stepped out for groceries 2 decades ago. "What are you doing here?" I managed to ask, my voice surprisingly calm, despite the hurricane of emotions inside. Sarah glanced past me into the house, her expression a mixture of determination and nervousness. "I was hoping we could talk. There are things I need to explain, to you and to the children. May I come in?" Her voice cracked slightly on the word children, as though she was trying the term on for size after abandoning it long ago. Before I could respond, I felt a presence behind me. Jackson had come to see who was at the door. I heard his sharp intake of breath as recognition dawned. Though he had been only 5 when she left, her face had been etched in family photos. I had never had the heart to remove completely. "Is that her?" he asked, his voice lower and harder than I had ever heard it. "Is that?" Our mother Sarah's eyes widened as she took in the tall, confident young man who had once been her little boy. "Jackson," she whispered, "you look so much like your father." Allie and Emma appeared in the hallway, curious about the tension they sensed. I watched Sarah's face as she saw all 3 of her children together for the first time in 21 years. The daughters she had abandoned as barely more than babies were now beautiful, accomplished young women. Tears filled her eyes, as the magnitude of what she had missed seemed to hit her all at once. "Please," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I know I have no right to ask, but I need to talk to you. All of you." I felt a gentle hand on my shoulder and turned to see Monica, her expression conveying both support and concern. Sarah noticed the gesture and the wedding ring on my finger, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Perhaps we should hear what she has to say," Monica suggested quietly. Her strength had always been finding compassion, where I found only anger. We moved to the living room in a daze, this surreal family reunion none of us had ever expected. Sarah perched awkwardly on the edge of an armchair, while the rest of us gathered on the sofa and love seat. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us, until Emma, always the bravest in emotional situations, spoke. "Why are you here now?" After all this time, Sarah took a deep breath and began to explain. James had left her 15 years ago for a younger fitness model, a cruel mirror of what she had done to our family. She had built a moderately successful career as an art dealer in Los Angeles, but lived a lonely life. The final catalyst for her return was a recent diagnosis of early-stage breast cancer. "Facing your mortality makes you reconsider your choices," she said. I realized I needed to make amends before it might be too late. As she spoke, I watched my children's reactions. Jackson sat rigid, jaw clenched, processing her words with the analytical mind that made him an excellent engineer. Allie studied Sarah's face with the trained observation of a therapist in training, looking beyond words to the emotional truth beneath. Emma leaned slightly forward, the family historian gathering yet another chapter for our complicated story. "I know I do not deserve forgiveness," Sarah continued. "What I did was unforgivable. But I wanted you all to know that not a day has gone by that I have not regretted walking out that door. I have missed everything, your first days of school, your graduations, your accomplishments. I gave up the greatest gifts of my life because I was selfish and immature. And now, you want back," in Jackson's voice, cut through her tearful speech. "You think you can just show up and what we welcome you with open arms. You missed 21 years. You signed away your rights to us." Sarah flinched at his words but nodded. "You are right. I do not expect anything. I just needed to see you to tell you how sorry I am, and to answer any questions you might have had growing up. I know you have a mother. Now," she glanced at Monica, "and I am not trying to replace her. I just thought maybe there could be some place for me, however small." The room fell silent again as we all absorbed her words. I looked at my family, these incredible young adults I had raised with Monica's help, each processing this moment in their own way. The anger I had carried for so long had transformed over the years into something closer to pity. Looking at Sarah now, I saw someone who had made a catastrophic choice and spent 2 decades living with the consequences. Finally, I spoke the words that had gradually become clear to me over the years of healing. "Sarah, your leaving was the worst thing that ever happened to us. For years I was broken trying to be both parents to 3 hurting children. But looking back now, I can say this: your absence created space for something beautiful to grow. These amazing people I gestured to my children learned resilience and compassion through pain. Monica and her sons came into our lives, completing a family circle we never could have imagined. Monica reached over to squeeze my hand as I continued. We are not the people you left behind. The children you abandoned grew up to be extraordinary adults with no help from you. The husband you discarded found a partner who knows the value of family and commitment. Jackson stood up then, his expression softening slightly as he looked down at the woman who had given him life, but not raised him. I spent years angry at you, wondering what we did wrong. But Dad and Monica taught us that your choices were not our fault. We have built a good life without you in it. Allie spoke next, her therapist's heart evident. Everyone deserves a chance to make amends, but that does not mean everything goes back to how it was. Trust has to be earned. Emma, who had no memories of Sarah to mourn, offered the most open perspective. I have always been curious about you. I would be willing to get to know you slowly, as a person, not necessarily as a mother. Sarah looked at each of us, tears streaming down her face, as she realized what she had truly abandoned. Not just 3 small children, but the entire future of a family. The adults they would become, the lives they would build. Her shoulders slumped as the full weight of her choices became viscerally clear. I understand, she whispered. Thank you for even listening to me. I know I have no right to ask for anything more. As she rose to leave, Monica surprised us all by speaking. Why not stay for dinner? We have more than enough, and this conversation is just beginning. It will take time, maybe years, to figure out what, if any, relationship is possible. But we can start with a meal. The look on Sarah's face, a mixture of shock, gratitude, and profound sadness for all she had thrown away, told us everything. She was completely speechless, confronted with the generosity of the family that had formed in her absence. As our unconventional dinner began, I realized that the final pieces of my own healing had fallen into place. The family we had built was strong enough to face this ghost from our past without being shaken. Our happiness was not fragile because it was built on something Sarah had never understood: the daily choice to stay, to love, to put family first even when it was difficult. Sometimes, the deepest wounds create space for unexpected blessings. I often tell my children that family is not about who shares your DNA. It is about who stays when staying is hard. It is about who chooses you every day, through tantrums and teenage rebellion, through midnight fevers and college applications, through all the ordinary moments that strung together create a life worth living. Have you ever had someone from your past try to return? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. If this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of family forgiveness and finding strength in unexpected places. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that sometimes what feels like an ending can actually be the beginning of something beautiful. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, the family you build can be stronger than the family you were born into.